Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. This is Srini here, and this is my channel. You can just go ahead and search in YouTube and do subscribe to it and hit the bell to get notifications. So here I'll be sharing a lot of free videos on Selenium, Java, Python, API automation, robotics process automation. I've started a new tutorial series on Python, and I've also started a couple of playlists on the interview questions which you can expect for core Java interview for Selenium and exclusively Selenium interview for 2 to 3 years experience. This is the tutorial series, and for Selenium interview in general, how to crack, I have a separate video on the same. So you'll be getting a lot of such free videos on my channel, so do not forget to subscribe to it and to share with your friends as well. So let's get on to today's topic. So today's topic is on Selenium interview questions which you can expect, the frequently or the most commonly asked questions for a 2 to 3 years experience automation professional. So this is based on what a lot of requests I've been getting from the subscribers here, and I just thought I'll be able to put on all the questions whichever I have taken as well as I have faced when I've been on this particular duration of experience previously when I had appeared for a lot of interviews. So I just thought I'll collate whatever questions I had been asked, and also I did find some good sources over the internet together. So I have put down into one particular document so that it is easy for you all to refer, and you all need not refer to so many different websites or struggle so much to find out what are the different interview questions you can expect for this range of experienced guy, right? So let's get started. So I'll be sharing a document, this one, and this particular Word document I have prepared with whatever different questions I had also taken when I have taken so many interviews. I was a part of the interview panel, so I know what are the frequently asked questions which the interviewer would be asking and how the candidate should be preparing for the interview as well. I'll be mentioning you all in this particular session. So I just hope that people who are watching this video are aware of Java and Selenium, and they are just preparing for the interview for Selenium just from the perspective that they get a good job and they get a good offer. That is my whole motive here. So if you are not much aware of Java Selenium, you can go over my Java and Selenium tutorials playlist, and then you can come across for this video. So let's get started. So the first question which the interviewer would ask you is that brief me about yourself and your past experience. So this is just that they want to check that whatever you have mentioned in your resume, they want to hear from you in your own words and in brief. They don't want to give you to give an entire total big background about your project experience, etc., etc. They just want a short and crisp answer that what is your overall experience, what were the previous companies you have worked upon, just mention the company name, and then tell from the latest project you're working on, what is your role, like what is your overall project all about, just on a high level, and what is the frameworks you have worked upon. So they are actually interested to know mainly this particular part. What is your role and what are the different frameworks or the tools you have used? The reason they want to know is that so that they can try to map whether you are a right fit for their job location or the job position or not. The reason is because, see, they have a JD, they have a job description, and they've already given it to you. They have clearly told what they are looking for. Now, based on your experience and based on what you know, they are going to judge you initially or get an impression whether have you worked upon whatever they require the skill set. If yes, then you are going in the right direction. If not, still you need not worry much about it. You just have to confidently answer whatever questions they throw at you. Just be prepared to answer it confidently and tell whatever you are aware. Don't try to fake the answer to the interviewer. I've seen a lot of times that the candidate thinks that the interviewer would not be able to catch it up, that they are trying to give a fake answer. That is not true. Interviewer understands right away, even if you give an answer which is not a correct answer, or if it is, you're trying to just give some answer just for the sake of answering it, they will catch it for sure, because they are experienced enough when they're taking the interview. So you cannot bluff them. So you have to tell whatever you know. Tell them whatever you know. Okay, tell it in short. No need to worry about even if they ask you some question which you are not aware. Just accept it that you are not much worked upon that concept, but you are aware of the other different functionalities of the tool. And if you get an opportunity, you will be able to work upon this particular aspect and quickly learn on it. Just be in a affirmative mode when you're trying to give such kind of answers. So that is how you have to answer this. Brief me about yourself and your past experience. Mention it in short and what project you're working and what is your role and responsibility. Another very tricky question which I have seen is that what is the rating you will be giving yourself in the scale of 1 to 5 in core Java. So remember here that you are going to give an interview on Selenium. So you have to know one programming language thoroughly, be it C Sharp, be it Java, or be it Python. You have to know one programming language for sure. And it's not just that, okay, I'm knowing Java. They will try to assess you how much of core Java you know. So they are trying to get a self-assessment from yourself. What is the rating you'll be giving yourself from 1 to 5 in core Java? Again, I will say here, be true. Don't be fake here. Because even if for the sake of impressing the interviewer, if you say I'm 5 out of 5 or I'm 4 out of 5, but you actually know back of your mind that you are just 2 or 3. So ultimately, the question which follows after this question, you will be in a fix. You will not know what to do because they will be asking such tricky questions if you rate 4 or 5. But if you really are confident and if you have done a lot of practice and you know for sure that you can answer those tricky questions, go ahead and rate yourself close to 4 or close to 5. But I would preferably ask you to rate not more than 4. The reason is because if a candidate tries to be so much confident and if they try to say 5, the interviewer would purposely ask you very difficult questions which would sometimes may not be that easy to clear. And if in case you don't fare well in core Java, I'll definitely tell you all this thing for sure, that it will not have a good impression on the interviewer. No matter how much good you are in Selenium, they may not want to even ask much questions in Selenium if you are not able to pass ahead of this particular stage of core Java interview. So always remember your first stage of your interview, stage 1. So I'm just mentioning it in the top here so that you guys can prepare accordingly for the interview. Stage 1 is going to be, of course, brief about yourself in short. And I'm just going to come to the technical part. It will be Java interview. This will be lasting for say 20 minutes or so, 15 to 20 minutes for sure. I'm just thinking that will be the duration it will last for. Stage 2 will be Selenium interview. This is the common pattern I've seen across multiple companies. So you have to follow this. Selenium interview here will not be that much practical. It will be like a Selenium interview round 1, you can say. So this will be more of theoretical. They just want to find out how much good you are in Selenium in terms of functionality or concepts. So it will be theoretical and little hands-on. Hands-on in the sense on paper. Write some syntax. So that kind of questions could be asked. Stage 3 would be Selenium technical interview. This you can say Selenium round 2. This will be less theoretical, more practical. The reason I'm saying practical, it doesn't mean that you have to work on a PC and write down some program, etc., etc. No, practical in the sense that whoever have actually worked on a project, right? You might be working on different frameworks. You have worked with several team members with the previous companies. So you would be aware of some practical part of Selenium. You would know what happens or when do we get such a kind of exception. Like example, I'm just telling you, when do we get such exceptions, right? Or all those practical questions which you would actually know only when you work on Selenium. Or let's say, what will you do to resolve errors in a Maven project? I'm just giving some few examples here. There might be so many practical questions which whoever has actually worked on Selenium, they will be able to understand and they will be able to answer. And another thing would be, how would you be able to maintain the sync of your code with that of other team members? See, these are all tweaky questions. They, instead of asking to you all directly what they want to know, they just want to go around the bush and find out from you all what is the term for it. Term for it, you all know or you might be aware of, is Git or GitHub, right? So the process, they just want to know what is the terminology, what is the functionality, what is the process about it. So they would find it out from you all. Are you aware of it or not? So such kind of questions will be asked more in the technical interview. So you have to go prepared for all such rounds. And finally, stage 4 will be, I think, almost done. So they just want to know overall your communication. So they will be having a discussion with your, like, their top manager, like their senior recruitment manager or senior project manager for that matter. I'll say senior project manager. Whoever is in charge for whatever requirement is what the company is going to recruit for. That person might ask you, and they might judge you on your overall communication, your body language, your presentation skills. So all basically the soft skills which the person needs to possess, they'll be having a look at that. And they will of course give you one kind of a scenario. This could be a simple scenario, or it could be a scenario which you might have experienced when you're working with a team, and you just have to give answer as per situation, answer as per your experience, right? So these are the different rounds, and then finally you all are aware stage 5 is going to be your HR round if you get selected. So these are the common 4 to 5 rounds a person will go over when they try to appear for interview. Now for a 2 to 3 years experience person, this is in general which I mentioned. So for a 2 to 3 year experience, I don't think they are going to go for the stage 1 to stage 5. It's going to be probably stage 1, stage 2 and stage 5 directly. I think that is all it's going to be. At the max, they might include stage 2 and stage 3. This is but depending on which company you're appearing for. So I'm just saying might be optional, but it all depends because they want to assess or screen a candidate thoroughly. So they might go for stage 3 as well. That is second round. And yeah, before this, I did not mention one more part. You might have a telephonic interview. This all what I mentioned is all about face to face, but you might have a telephonic interview first, then face to face these below. So be prepared for it when you go for the interview. So let's get on to today's topics. So first one I've already discussed. Brief me about yourself and your past experience. Second topic also we have discussed. So if you give a rating of 5, be sure that you're going to get the toughest questions, and even you'll be asked to write a program practically on a piece of paper, and you might be even cross questioned on that program which you write. What happens when you do this change? What happens when you do that change? What is the output? So you have to be really experienced enough, and you have to really practice a lot to rate yourself 5, right? 4 will be difficult questions, but not that impossible. I would say it's very tricky, and you just have to have a good practice, and you should be able to answer those questions. It will be mostly practical questions on Java. Might be one program or so they might ask you to write, but not much. But you should be able to crack it if you have done very good practice. 3 would be like all conceptual questions on important topics in Java. It could be method overloading, method overriding. It could be access modifier, interface, inheritance, package, static final keyword. Collections is the most important topic. No matter whatever is your experience range when you're appearing for interview, you should for sure not just go through the collections theoretical part, but practice it a lot on different types of collections. So I'm giving it an idea of what all things you need to prepare on collections right away. Prepare on what are different types of collections, what is a syntax, how it is used, how it is different from the other collection type, like difference between list and set, common differences, right? Then hash map and hash table, or list and hash map. Which one will you use over the situation whenever they give you a scenario? Which one will you use in this particular scenario? They will ask you a question. So you have to try to think on a dynamic basis that is it going to be array list or is it going to be hash map? If so, why it is? So you have to give a justification for your answer. JDBC, typecasting. So these are all different types of common questions which you can expect in a Java interview for a level rating of 3. 1 to 2, you need not worry much about it. But then remember that if you give a lesser rating as well for that position, whichever they're taking the interview, if it requires good skill set in Java and you have rated yourself in the range of 1 to 2, and let's say you could successfully answer whatever questions they asked you in this round, but they might ask you 1 or 2 questions of this difficulty as well. So they just want to find out if you are able to answer. Yeah, so let's get back to this particular part. So we have gone over the first couple of questions, and now if you see here, yes, I was talking about the rating part for the 1 to 2. So 1 to 2, even if you are able to answer this all the questions properly, you might be asked a couple of questions from this particular level 3. The reason is because their position could be for a medium level experienced Java professional, but you are in the range of beginner. So they want to test if you can answer such kind of tricky questions. If you could answer, it's very good. If not, still it's fine, because you will be now judged on the basis of your Selenium WebDriver concepts. That is your stage 2. You have cleared the stage 1, so you'll be called upon for the stage 2. So remember guys, if your stage 1 doesn't go well, there might be a good chance that stage 2 doesn't happen at all, or if it happens, it will be just for 1 or 2 questions only. So you have to be very good in Java when you go for the interview. So let's get on to the third topic. So the third question would be, how will you rate yourself in the scale of 1 to 5 in Selenium WebDriver? Again, similar to Java, depending upon what rating you give, the level of difficulty will rise. So you have to be thorough enough with your practical knowledge and concepts if you rate between 3 to 4, right? So don't rate more than 4, just go till 4. Okay. Now let's come to the next important question set from overall. So the immediate question when you are able to answer all these questions would be like, tell us about your role or designation in your current company and what were your roles and responsibility. So they are not asking in terms of a designation, it's based on your project role. So they may not tell you directly, but you have to understand implicitly that what they're talking about is from a project role perspective. What is your role and responsibility? What are the tasks you carried out? So you have to give it in very short description. What is your project all about in short? Then tell them what framework your project is using. What is your role in that project? Are you a automation engineer, or are you a senior automation engineer, or are you an automation lead, depending upon what is your role and responsibility, right? And then tell them what all different tasks you carry out. Let's say if you are a automation engineer, you prepare the automation scripts, right? You prepare the regression suite, you maintain the regression suite in case there are any changes to any of the test cases. Then you have to maintain the regression suite from an automation perspective. If there is a new requirement, and then later on, once the environment gets stable, you would have to then make an automation suite, or a what do you say, a regression suite or sanity suite of that. Then mention what were your skill sets, like what kind of frameworks you worked upon, and what are the different tools you had used. Let's say you had used only Selenium, no other third-party tool. Just mention Selenium WebDriver. You had used Maven, you had used TestNG, you had used whatever framework. Mention it in detail. And if they might ask you some couple of questions on that, then you should be able to answer it, because it will be based on what framework you have told them. They will question you accordingly, right? That's the fourth question. Fifth question will be a very much important one. No matter what is your experience range you go, means of course it is, if it is less than 2, you need not worry about. So it will not be asked if it is less than 2 experience. But if you are plus 2, it will surely be asked. So you have to go prepared for it. Okay, so the question here is, explain the architecture of your project framework, and did you had any opportunity to work on a particular framework from scratch? So this is a very important question as I discussed. So you have to mention your project framework structure. That is the project layout. What are the different components of a project framework? You will might have to be write it down on a piece of paper. They might ask you, and they will be surely asking you, explain each and every package and what does this particular file do, or what does that particular package does. They will ask you for sure. So you have to be truthful here. Whatever frameworks you have worked upon, show them whatever you have worked upon. It need not be as per their requirement what they're looking for, but they are just trying to find out how much good you are in terms of designing the framework and explaining the components as a part of the framework. And if you would be able to do it for whatever requirement they have, they will be able to judge you on that. So I'll just show you as an example. I'll create a project and I'll show you how a project structure looks like in Selenium, whatever project framework you're using. I'll be creating a separate I'll be creating a separate video on how to create a how to design a project framework, but this is just to show you all the, from an interview perspective, what to show them. I'm just creating a project here. Yeah, so you've created a project here. So you have to tell them that you're going to create a project, and in the SRC, if you go for a non-Maven based project, I'm just showing you right now. So you have to create packages. Okay, let's call the first one as test scripts. Right, I'm just first designing the packages now, and you have to write down this on a piece of paper as to how the overall structure will look like. So you can tell them resources. Then you will have one more package for test data files. Then you will be having a framework, a package for utilities. You'll have one more package for config, that is configuration. Whatever you might be using config.properties file, some properties file, etc. So for that you need to have a config package, right? And I think, let me just check if anything I'm missing out here. Test scripts are covered. Test data files for the resource, this thing is covered. Yeah, so you will be needing one more thing. So if you're using a page object model, so if you're using a page object model, if you are not aware of this terminology, don't worry, I'll be creating a separate video on the same. But just in case you're aware of it, you would be able to understand. You would have a package for pages, and under this particular package you will have separate Java file for each and every page. So let's say for home page you're going to have a separate Java file. I'm just giving you an idea. You will have a separate Java file for sign up, like that. So in config you're going to have config.properties. So you are going to say new file config.properties, right? Resources is going to have your Excel sheet. So I might have an Excel sheet. I'll just look at it. So I've taken an Excel sheet and let me paste it out here. Like your whatever test data driven framework, right? You will have a data driven framework because you have to interact with your external resource from where you're going to get the test cases and etc. If you have test data also in a separate file like this particular Excel sheet, then of course the test cases as well as test data both will come from your Excel sheet. So yeah, so I can just move this to here, test data files, not to resources. So resources will have your drivers, actually your Chrome driver, Firefox driver, IE driver. So you will have all those in your resources. So I'm going to copy those resources here. So you're going to tell them this is how your skeleton will look like. You will have to write down on a piece of paper. So, and just mention it out, the modules, that is the packages wise, and what you're going to have inside it. And now test scripts is going to have your test cases. So create a class for test cases, right? And let's now look at the utilities part. Utilities is going to have a class on different utilities or common methods. See, often we come across different scenarios which are going to be common for so many Java files. It will be common, right? So example, it could be like void click method. If you want to click on something, right? So you'll have a method here. If you like say select from drop down, so you'll have a method. So rather than hard coding driver.find element, etc., you will just create an object of utility and access these methods, right? So it will be all those common things whichever, like sending data. So you are going to have your functionality of driver.find element. Okay, just say whatever XPath, etc., would be a part of your element, right? So I've closed it here, and then dot send keys, and then mention whatever data you want to give. So it could be like something like this. Okay, so I'm just giving you the idea, and here this will be the data you want to send, right? So this is how you're going to send the data. So these different kinds of utility methods you're going to have in one file, and you're going to create the object of this utilities class in from your other class and use it, right? So one more thing is that you need to have one more package here for the reports. So you're going to say reports as your package name. And in this reports, you're going to have whatever type of report you're going to use to show it to your stakeholders. So let's say I'm going to use extend reports. So you will have to have the logic of extend reports here, right? So you will have to have a, sorry, not logic here. Just what I meant to say was that whatever extend report.html will be generated, right? You would have to just place it over here in your report, so that in this reports package, you will be getting all the reports easily accessible. You need not worry about it. Now, a couple of more things which you can just have as a package, that is for logs, right? And one more package is for the screenshots. Or instead of package, you can have as a folder. So I'll create a folder instead for screenshots. If your company demands that you need to have a particular folder which will have your screenshots, yeah, you can just store it in this particular screenshots under src, and you can have the reports stored under this particular folder, that is the extend report. And the logs, you will have two types of logs here. So I'll again create a separate video on this logging using log4j in Selenium. So here you're going to have two types of logs. One is manual logs and one is Selenium logs. So manual logs means whatever logs we have given ourselves using log4j, and Selenium logs means when your entire execution happens, automatically each and every part of it sequentially will be captured in your log, that is system interaction part. So that is called Selenium logs. So that will be in a separate file. So this is how you have to explain your project framework to the interviewer when they ask you. This will give them a very good impression that you are aware of how to design a project framework using Selenium. So if you have not got much of it, don't worry. As we go on sequentially with all the different functionality and concepts, I will be reaching out to a topic where I take how to design a Selenium framework. So I'll be showing as an example for each and every different type: data-driven framework, keyword-driven, page object model. So don't worry much about it. So page object model, as I said, is not a framework. It's just like a design pattern, but it's going to be used as a part of the framework. So, and another framework is hybrid framework, right? So just be aware of this high level design, and you should be able to do well in your interview when you are asked this question. So this is all about the part 1 of this particular video, and I'll be continuing with my part 2, where it will be starting with core Java. So there are a lot of interview questions which you can expect for a 2 to 3 years experience person on core Java, and then I'll be coming on to Selenium. So stay tuned for my next video, and do subscribe to my channel yet if you haven't done yet, and do share with your friends so that they also get benefited. Thank you so much.